Hello, everyone. This is Aaron from Deep Dive Discography, joined today by Levi Benton from Miss May I. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. Having a great day.
Good to hear. It's been a little bit of a while of time since Miss May I was in the public eye.
Yeah, we hibernated. Had obviously the pandemic, but had some fatherhood over here on our end as well. So we just have been taking a much needed break.
Well, I mean, you're back. You're ready to push a new album, Curse of Existence, to its entirety. You're
Hmm.
hitting the road in less than a month with Currents, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
Yep.
Cool. I'm trying to go off the head, so. And then, yeah, Curse of Existence is also out less than a month, September 2nd.
Yep.
How excited are you to get the new album out?
I was already excited, but I'm really excited now that the feedback on the last couple songs has just been so good. It's just because we really tried some new stuff on this, just a little bit here and there, and everyone's really been commenting on it and loving it. And I'm just like, wait till you hear the rest of the album then, because that's just the tip of it. So yeah, there's a lot more to the album, and yeah, I just can't believe how excited everybody is. Like we're used to albums just and like releases and doing what we do, but taking this much time off, it was a little bit nerve-wracking coming back, but everyone's so excited. It's just going to be awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, the rest of the album that everyone hasn't heard is great.
Thank you. I
So
appreciate it. You got to hear it.
yeah,
Oh, sweet. Thank you.
yeah,
Appreciate it.
they're definitely in for something good. I mean, you are going out on the road to tour for it. Luckily, right around when it comes out. What songs are you most excited to sing?
Oh, well, the last single that comes out the day the album comes out, that's my favorite song. So I can't tell anybody, but that's gonna be my favorite song to play live. But Earthshaker, I think, is gonna be one of my favorites to play. Because there's a lot of new vocal stuff I tried. And I just love trying new stuff, especially live. Yeah, that's what I'm most excited for is Earthshaker, I think.
And you've had obviously a bit longer to write and prepare for this album. What kind of went into all of it this time around?
This one was the hardest one, man. It was because all our other albums happened while we were on tour and while we were active. So this one happening while we were not inactive, but just like the world was stopped and touring and all that was stopped. We all had like full-time lives at that moment while we did this album. So that was really hard because you had to fit studio time and you had to write this album while you're living this life you've never really lived because your livelihood has stopped. So it was very stressful and very like, it was just way different. And I think a lot of aggression came out in the album, which like, obviously I'm not happy that we were stressed out, but I'm sort of happy it gave that, I guess, energy because there was a lot to write about this time around. Not that there hasn't been in the past, but this time, especially with the pandemic and the world stopping and our lives changing and fatherhood, all this, this was a very easy album lyrically to write, but the process of writing it was difficult. And just traveling and getting together during the pandemic was hard because restrictions. So it's like for instance, like doing our drum tracking, our drummer was by someone who had it. So we had a quarantine for 2 weeks. Even though he didn't have it, he couldn't come to the studio for it, just added 2 weeks to studio time. And it was just like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. It was so hard to make the album. And then this is our first album ever. We went back and re-recorded too, a lot of it because and I did a post about it on my socials, but it was almost too negative of an album and too ups like too not angsty, but too pissed off, I guess, that and there was just like it was too out there in some areas that we've never been sent back, but I'm really happy they did. They were just like, you need to take a breather. Sounds like you guys are super stressed. Go back and write this. Because I was just like, I think I was expressing my anger through which you're supposed to, but I was really telling people that I was pissed off through the album. And they're like, well, you need to calm down a little bit. And I'm like, okay.
Just
It was
bring
just
it
it was
down
just
two steps.
yeah, it was just stressful, but I'm so happy because it was like cathartic. It was like therapy through our album. It's way different. And then that's why Curse of Existence came out because at the end of the day, it's like everyone's putting on the same pants and everyone was stressed out. And that was a nice realization that we had together because you feel so isolated, and especially when you are isolated and you're going through all this stuff, you feel like you're the only one, and then come to find out you meet the producer and engineers and talk to the label, all these people that are all around the world, and everyone's going through the same thing, and you're like, okay, maybe it's not so horrible. So that it was awesome. There was definitely a great resolution at the end of the album.
What kind of stuff were you doing during the pandemic to kind of take your mind off of all the negatives?
So I right before the pandemic started, I started remodeling a home or a building back at home for my family, and that was in August of 19, and then the world stopped in March, so it was like 5 months before the world stopped. So after I started it, and then the world stopped and touring stopped, and I was like, well, I have all the time in the world right now to finish it. So I really went like head first into just really like carpentry and designing and building, and it really kept me busy. That's what I'm in right now. It was this was like filled with sleeping bags and rubble, and there was no roof and rain. It was like a nasty abandoned building, and we rebuilt it. So that kept me really, really busy, almost too busy, but it was took my mind off of things. And when the world was isolated, I was all by myself here. So it was great. It's just me by myself in this place with a hammer, just rebuilding it. And yeah, that kept me really busy and kept me sane. And yeah, just becoming a dad as well kept me very busy, which has been just the coolest. And we were going to, the crazy thing is nobody really knows this, but we were going to take not a break, but a touring break for a second while the first Miss May I baby came. Um, and then the world stopped. So we were like, well, there we don't have to announce that we're going to just chill on touring. It just is going to happen naturally. So that was really nice. And then our guitar player Justin had a baby, and it just added. And it was during the pandemic. It was just like we weren't stressed because on the other end, if the world didn't stop, it would have been like all these tours and festivals and obligations would have just been like it would have been crazy.
Yeah.
So we were really blessed that happened.
Well, I mean, first note, the room you're in at the very least looks great. For all I know, the
Thank
rest
you.
for all I know, the rest of the house is still rubble, but the room you're in looks great.
Hey, I appreciate it. It's my baby, man. It's the quirkiest, craziest play. It's like it literally is like a piece of me. It's fun, man. There's a sound room in here too. There's a room to jam in. It was built with a jam room.
Nice. Yeah, I mean that must be the biggest advantage to being able to build the house to your specifics.
Yep, that's what I'm saying. And I was like rushing it because tours and all this stuff was coming, and then they're like, "Hey, schedule's wiped," and I'm like, "Actually, I'm gonna make this a little bit nicer than I was gonna make it because I have time now." So
We'll just slow it down ever so slightly and make sure everything's perfect.
yeah, and the cool, yeah, for real, and like the cool thing outside of like doing these projects and stuff, we've been doing this since we were kids. So like we only know Miss May I because right out of high school we just toured and never stopped, and the break was so nice, like mentally, I think on everybody. Like right now, we're the closest we've ever been as a band, and it's because I think we're not like at each other's throats because now it's like we appreciate it and just got that little break of like not just seeing each other every single day for 15 years.
Yeah. I mean that's one of the craziest things about Miss May I. You guys are the same band as when you started. There's
Yeah, it's
very
crazy.
few bands that can say that.
Yeah, it's wild. It's still weird to me. And I'm not sick of it. Like the first tour back with All That Remains after 2 years off was like the time of my life. I just picked right back up where we left off. It was awesome.
Yeah. And next up is a headline tour. I mean, what more could you ask for?
I know, and we have so many. It's so cool because we appreciate it. So it's just such a different perspective. Like this will be one of the best, or not the best headliner we've done because like we're bringing so much more to the show because we just have a completely different perspective of being in Miss May I than we did the previous years.
What would you consider to be your hits and live staples that you have to bring to a tour?
We have to play Hey Mister, or people will write. And like that's like that one is like a shot of espresso. Like if that it's just crazy. Relentless Chaos, I would say. And then it's sort of it's a hit or miss because we don't know. We don't see. we weren't expecting to be a band this long, and we don't know where you are as a band where you have to cut off old songs.
Yeah.
The oldest big one that we have to play is Forgive and Forget, but we're almost having the conversation now of like, because now we're meeting, there's fans that song was out before they were alive. And I'm like, do I even play this for them? I'm like, I don't know. Like we're meeting 12-year-olds and 13-year-olds like at meet and greets. And they're like, my parents raised me on you guys. I'm like, wait, what are you talking about? I'm like, raised you on us. I'm like, oh my God, we've been around longer than you've been alive. I'm like, what's happening?
Oh, geez. How
Crazy.
old am I?
I know. Yeah. You would never, my facial hair never really came in either. I feel still like I'm 16. It's crazy.
I mean, you still look good. So,
I don't know what I'm knock on wood. Like every time we take promos, I'm like, damn it. I'm like, still look like a child.
yeah, I mean, you still look the same as when I first got to see you guys 8 years ago now on Mayhem Fest.
That's crazy. So did you come to the US for that?
I used to live in Canada. So,
Oh, okay.
caught
I
you
was
at the
gonna say
Toronto
your
date.
accent, you don't have a,
No.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, I lived in Canada for a long time. So,
Awesome. That Canadian, I remember that Mayhem Canada show was good.
it was hot.
Very hot. Ryan fell on stage. Yeah, I
Man,
remember.
I don't remember that one.
I do.
There
We
was
have
a
a
lot of
picture,
people.
and yeah.
Yeah. No, it's like it's been crazy. Like I said, you guys have been around so long, the lineups never changed. I think one of the biggest things for you guys as well is you were in the prime of metalcore, and so many bands who were coming out around the same time as you, maybe just before, just after, have changed so drastically from how they sounded. But you guys have kind of stuck to your guns and didn't change to become kind of poppier. Did you ever kind of
Yeah,
have a conversation to go that way?
yeah, I think the poppiest we ever really got was Rise of the Lion. And that was like sort of our, I guess, our version of doing that. Cause that was like with the times. It was like everyone's doing it. It's so funny because now being band still on, you like look back at periods of time. Like even but that was like that period of time, like all our friends, everybody was all our peers, that's like what we were doing. And our version of that was Rise of the Lion. But um I think after doing that and just being in that community of bands doing that kind of push, it really showed us that because we had to play those songs live. Like, not that we didn't want to write those songs, but we played those songs. We had to tour that album for a few years. We had to do that, and the internal feeling and the energy it felt, it was like we we should go back to like maybe what we like, what this band's built on, and like what we feel like, really just pour out like the kind of metal we like to play. And I think you can really hear that on Deathless, and you can really hear that on Shadows Inside. And then now with this album, it's like this album's really fun because I'm not being that guy, but like we we're to the point to where like it's not that we don't care, but we're not trying to impress anyone anymore. We just want to literally be as good as we can be. And it's been so fun to do this album because it's just like it's jamming in a room with your friends. We're just like, let's just, what if we wrote this like this? What if this part was like this? And that was the sickest part we could. It wasn't like trying to figure out or impress people or try to get on the right tours. It was just like, let's just, this sounds cool. Like, let's put it back on the album. And that's how the band was founded. Like when we did our first album, and then it's cool because it sort of came full circle, and we're just like, let's just be the best like version of Miss Maya we could be. And I think that's how we'll continue to be moving forward. And we grow with that because with that you get to like really like show off your influences. So like this album, I was in the shower at the studio. This studio was insane, and there was like this crazy shower, and it was like real echoey. And I would just listen to In Flames and Darkest Hour every morning, and I would sing to it, and it would get me amped up to be like, this is how I want my vocals to be on this album. And you can hear that a little bit in Earthshaker. We dumbed it down a little bit through in some other songs, but I think like because there's not so much stress on impressing people, it gave me like a lot less anxiety on, hey, I'm gonna try, I've always wanted to try this, I'm gonna try it. So then like we did it, and we're like, this sounds cool, like I've always wanted to do that. And that's like stuff I'll throw in live when we're in like some random place and we're having a good show. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna try this. Like I'll just throw those in there, so that I just did on the album. And I think it just comes with confidence and um yeah, just and which is weird to say, being a band for so long, there's still like onion layers of confidence that is being peeled off of us.
Yeah, there's always that anxiety. I mean, you're in a band that's essentially a form of sales.
Yeah,
People can just decide not to show up, and that's kind of it.
yeah, that is the that's what keeps you up at night.
But I mean, this upcoming tour, I'm sure the singles will be on there, and I'm sure the pit to a song like Unconquered will be intense. So you're definitely keeping the old fans around, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. That and your that Unconquered song, we played that on All That Remains. I'm telling you, man, that that breakdown live, it's a whole nother thing. It's really fun. And this tour too, we're doing like the throwback VIP thing. So our VIPs on this one, we're playing an exclusive set, which was like I said, a different perspective thing that we're doing on this tour that we haven't done. And it's just because I never thought like that. I was just like, yeah, if we're gonna do VIP sound checks, like and there's songs that we always want to play on tours that we just don't have time to. And I'm like, let's just play those crazy ones for those, like for the VIP. And it's just like a big hangout. And that came out of all this. So it's really exciting.
I'm not going to throw any bands under the bus, but I assume you're not doing the acoustic kind of VIP.
No, and that's sort of how this idea about was we can't do that stuff. And not can't, but we just that's not something that like has ever interested us.
Yeah.
And VI and sound checks are cool, but like we just wanted to bring something new to the table that was just different, but still like a cool experience and something that was needed throughout the day. So that's like why we just wrote an entire set for soundcheck that's like only played for soundcheck. But it like plays these old singles that just sometimes like we have so many albums now, we can only like fit so many songs in like until everybody wants to take a nap. So we could like we'll play them on soundcheck.
Yeah, and I mean, with how heavy a lot of the songs are, especially the further you go back, and being one of those OG metalcore bands, the pit is going to be nonstop. People are just going to need a break.
I know, dude, our set, we used to be the band that's like 1 hour and 45 minutes, 2 hours. Now we're like an hour and 15 tops. Like, cause I see you guys, like you guys are looking at us, but I see everybody getting tired. And I'm like, we need to give them a break. Like they need a breather. Cause we used to just run stuff like, especially we were on a computer and like everything's programmed is like songs are back to back. And I'm like seeing people in the front row just being pummeled. And I'm like, better buckle up. There's two more songs back to back. You got 7 more minutes of this. Like it's not gonna stop. Yeah, it's hard.
So obviously, you guys have played on so many festivals and so many tours and all this kind of stuff. What was kind of the hardest audience you've had to break through to?
Oh man. Probably I think Guar was the hardest tour we've ever done. Um it was exciting to do that tour because we wanted to tour with Guar, we wanted to tour with Hatebreed, and Ringworm, like all that was sick. And that was the first tour of that world for us. That's another reason why we wanted to do it. But man, talk about like it was like just resetting our careers on that tour because we were such a foreign band to that audience. It was just hard. It was very hard to be like, we've been here before, like playing Chicago and like meeting a fan or meeting a new fan that's like, oh my God, I love the show. Have you guys ever been here? I'm like, I've actually played here 50 times in like in the last 10 years. Like, I don't know where you were, but it's cool because that's how you like get exposed. But it was just that one was hard because it was seriously so left field. But we still now like the headline shows we have done and the All That Remains tour. There was a ton of fans from the Guar tour that were they would have never known about us unless they went to the Guar tour. So
Yeah,
that's why you do those. But yeah, that was the one that was the hardest. And it was like the first time like everything you wore on stage or touched, you would just get purple or blue dye or blood on you. It was just there were so many like speed bumps that were just so everything was so left field. You're like, watch out, there's monsters over there. Like, or don't go down that hallway. That's the costume. It was just so different. But it was also like the coolest because that band, they're legends, and it was just so cool to hang
yeah.
out with them and hear all their stories. And yeah, it was awesome.
Was that with Odorous or after?
After
After.
I think that was our last. No. It wasn't our last tour before. It was our like second to last tour before the pandemic. It was really short and sweet. Yeah.
I mean, you've done so many tours at this point. Who can keep track?
Dude, you are pretty. I know I used to collect so much stuff, and I'm like bummed that I don't have as much collectibles. That I had to stop at one point though because I just had too many totes. My wife's like, please, like, quit bringing stuff home. I was like, I know, but it's so cool. It's hard. Ryan in our band, he is like, he brings something. He's like the museum of Miss May I. He's got it all. He's the man.
And you've kind of dampened it down a little bit. There, you
It
got a
doesn't
couple
fit in my
things.
luggage. Ryan will buy another bag and bring it home. He's a maniac. Or he'll carry posters like on the plane, and I'm like, dude, I gotta sleep. I'm like, you're crazy.
Yeah, I can't help but notice. Obviously, you have a couple things on the wall for Miss May I.
Yeah. My coolest thing is that guitar. It's Justin. Hold on. It's it's Justin's signature guitar, and they sold out before they even went on the like. There's only 600 of these, but it's like got his signature on it, and then he designed it, and it has a an arcade on and off button, which is pretty cool. But it's a Charvel, Fender Charvel.
Very nice.
But it's just cool because I don't have a guitar. I
Yeah,
would love to learn guitar one day. And this is my boy's freaking signature. And I was like, I was so proud of him. And he got to give away only like a handful. And I begged for one of these. Yeah, that's my coolest relic. I got more cool relics, but that one's my coolest on here.
yeah. I figured I would keep quiet while you put it back. I didn't want to be the one to blame if you ended up dropping it.
Oh, understandable.
But yeah, I mean, that was going to be my next question when it came down to it. Like, I guess you haven't started learning guitar yet.
No. I just haven't had time. Yeah, I had, my daughter came and time just disappeared. I don't know. I don't have any time. It's crazy.
You didn't try to learn lullabies?
No, she's probably played it more than I have. She's like, she wants to sit on the couch and like strum it. It's awesome.
I mean, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
So, what comes after the headline tour that comes up in September?
After this tour, we go home for a little bit, and then in November, actually end of October, we head to Europe and UK for a tour with Barry Tomorrow, August Burns Red, and Thornhill. And that'll be our first Euro tour in like a long time. But it'll be on the new album, and that tour's actually been pushed like 3 years. So I'm excited for that to finally happen. It's gonna be crazy.
So many of the tours that are coming through have been pushed so long.
I know. And I'm just like, I know nothing's gonna cancel it, but I'm just like, please, like, I don't want to see a tweet or a monkeypox thing. I'm like, please just let me get over there, finish it, and come home. Like, it's gonna make it.
I know the biggest issue every band coming over right now has been having is the flights and people and flights losing luggage and everything.
Oh, yeah, Ryan is out with Asley dying right now over there, and they lost his bases for 6 hours. Yeah.
Oof. Yeah, I
I'm happy
know.
he found them, but they were gone and they were in a Miss May case. And I was like, bro, what's going on here, dude? I'm like, you're losing stuff.
Yeah, because cattle decapitation just had the same issue. All their gear was sat in an airport for 24 some odd hours, and nobody would help them, and they were trying to get to a festival. And you got
Yeah.
napalm death canceling festivals, and it's hectic. And I really feel for bands trying to tour.
Oh yeah, it's hard right now.
What kind of a difference do you feel a American and Canadian crowd have from a European crowd?
Mm. I love European crowds. Because we're exotic. Well, I just think um we're like exotic. I just think there's a lot of energy because it's so exclusive and it's like an exotic experience because we can't just like drive down the road and play a show. Um, so yeah, I just think there's a lot of it's not even more energy, but just a different kind of energy of just yeah, it's very special because who's to say when we'll be able to make it back out there again? We're
Yeah,
like we could drive up to Toronto or we can drive down to Chicago or something.
yeah, and obviously there's like you said, you never know what's gonna happen. The world could shut down as it did. So
Yeah. And I feel the same way vice versa. Like if there's like a band that I love that's from Germany or from South Africa, from Australia, if they come to the States, I will not sleep on those tickets because I'm like, I don't know when they're gonna come back. Like
yeah.
anything could happen.
So earlier you did mention that you kind of followed along with the times of metalcore bands. And I don't think that could be any more true than the punk goes pop cover.
Mm. Hmm.
Did you kind of do that because again it was part of the times, or did you do it mostly because you were offered and it sounded fun?
We did it because it was part of the times for sure. It was still fun, but it was like our peers and everyone doing it. So the first one, our swing cover was organic. That was before Pop Goes Punk was even a thing. And that's like what we got our record deal on was the cover swing. And we were just kids. We were like we were maybe, maybe 15, 16. Maybe some of us were 14. We were just like children and we wrote that and then it went viral. But that was like before viral was a term. It was just like, holy crap, our MySpace is going crazy. And that was fun because that one was organic. But the other one was yeah, it was did it with our friends. It was still a good time, but like you have to pick from a list that's pre-approved and like you don't really just get to like it's not like your thing. It's just like you're just it's like a promotional uh activity.
Yeah, so I was just trying to I mean obviously it helped push the band.
It does.
So
It's a great promo and it's really fun to like play a song that's like not yours. And like the challenge is exciting. Um but yeah, it's definitely like contained and it's like a well-oiled promo machine. They're like, here's the list, here's how it works. Send it in by this time. We'll call you.
I think you again outdated some of the 13, 14 year olds who found Miss May I by name dropping MySpace.
Oh, I know when that's what I talk to younger bands now, and it's like a campfire story. I'm like, you should have been there. It was crazy. You could post a bulletin and everyone would see it. The good old days.
Yeah, it really is crazy. And like that was how bands got found.
It was a good time. It was before monetization. That's what I tell everybody. Like everyone was still broke, like, but that's what made it so cool because you could talk to everybody and it didn't cost any money. Like
Yeah,
that's like, which was like the original foundation of the internet. But then it just monetization came and people need to get their cut.
that
So
is how everything goes.
exactly, yeah. But yeah, I remember, dude, crazy stuff. Like we would change locations of a venue and within 30 minutes and post a bulletin and like 500 people would show up like because it would just go out and it was looted. It was crazy. It was but that's how it should have like I don't know. It was a different time. It could be too crazy now. I don't know how it works, but at that time for us, it was like it was such a fun time. And then I remember like we were the first Facebook or we were the first band on Rise to get because this is when Rise had Attack Attack and Devil's Prada, like huge, huge, huge bands at the time. We hustled so hard on Facebook. Look, we were the first band to get 1 million likes, and then we were just crushing on there. And then they started doing the paid post, and then it was just like literally the flame went out overnight. It was crazy. Like
Yeah,
I remember the day of everything changing. It was just like, what? There's 1 million people. How did only 2,000 people see my post? I was like, what are they doing? And then we just, yeah. But thankfully, we were before that, and like it makes it just hard for newer bands. Or not hard, but it's just a whole new, yeah. It's a different game, I guess.
yeah. A lot of it now is you got to pay. It's just part of the game at this point. Is you got to put money into it to get money out of it. Hopefully, it's not
Yeah,
even
and
guaranteed.
I worked at Burger King, man. I made like $200 a month. Like it was like yeah, it was brutal. So if somebody told me to pay to promote my band, I don't know if there'd be a Miss May I. Like it was sort of like a digital flyer on a light pole, but on it was just the internet. Like you're it's like a cheap picture of your band and you put it on this thing and you're like, I hope people like it. Like it's everybody's walking by it and they see it. It doesn't cost anything. You just hope they like it.
You know, they actually stop and look at it as well. That's the other thing.
Yep. And back then, if you remember the MySpace days, the other game was like playing you had to get the charts. You could like there was charts of every genre
Yeah.
in the MySpace music. And that's like that was when our whole life changed, is when we got in the top 10 of like the world. That's when the record deals started coming. But it was like years of me not doing my homework and sitting on the internet. I'm just like, check out my band, check out my band. And we'd be recording songs, trying to do the newest cool thing. Do like it was just hustle, 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 hustle. And then everybody heard it. So
Yeah. And
crazy.
like I heard Tobias Forge talking about it the other day actually, and him starting Ghost with MySpace. And all he did was go through bands that he wanted to be influenced by and followed people that were following those bands, and then they would follow back. And then it's like that's all it was. That was MySpace. It's just all of a sudden a band follows you, you follow them back because they look cool and hope for
It
the
was so
best.
innocent. It was such a
Yeah.
good because nobody, yeah, it's you honestly, it sounds so like dad of me, but like it's just taking money out of the equation. Like it was just so innocent because like I didn't get online all night to make money. Now, if it was like a band with TikTok and Twitch and like you can make money just doing stuff, like that was never a possibility at those times. You would just
Yeah.
go on and you just did it because you wanted people to hear your stuff. You weren't expecting any. I remember our first album when we signed a deal. Um, or with the record label. And this is how much of not money we care about, which is so funny. We talk about it now as like hindsight. We're like, man, can you imagine if we had different mindsets? It could be way different. But we like don't care. We just wanted people to hear our band. Like I remember signing our record deal and the record owners were like, everyone's excited. I'm like, man, I hope we sell 1,000 albums. That's all I want. And they're like, yeah, it's gonna be way more. I'm like, what? I know it's gonna. I'm like, I didn't care. I was just like, I just want people to hear us.
Yeah.
And then yeah, it was so innocent. It's just like it was a good time.
Do you remember the first tour you went out on? I mean, of
Oh
course you
yeah,
do.
yeah. Impending Doom, Carnifex, Conducting from the Grave, and Molotov Solution. We were by far the lightest band. We were 10 years younger than everybody. There were shows on that tour that we weren't even allowed to be in the venues. They would like escort us in to play, and then we had to leave because we were too young to play the show. Um, but it was like we were kicking ass because we just knew what we were doing on MySpace. Like I would sit and just hustle, and like the shows, like we would do one offs and it would be packed. Like we're from Ohio, never left our state, and then we play in Arizona and it's like a sold out show, and you're like, all these people found us on MySpace. Like I just post, which is like the new modern thing is like the TikTok. Like it's the same thing that the revolution of these like young kids blowing up on these other
Yeah.
platforms. It was just at the time we were the ones on MySpace.
Well, last but not least, did you have any final notes you'd like to give to your fans listening in?
Yeah, I would love if you guys check out the new album, Curse of Existence. If you're a new fan, welcome. If you're an old fan, I appreciate you jamming us all this time. I can't wait for you to hear the new album. And come see us in November in Europe and UK. And if you're in the US and Canada, you better hurry up because September the headliner starts. So hang out.
Excellent. And yeah, the album is out September 2nd, but there are
Mm-hmm.
singles online, so everyone should go stream them and pre-order
Yes,
the album because, I mean, these guys deserve it. That's just how it is.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Levi, for your time. I very much appreciate you sitting down, talking to me about the new album.
Yeah, of course. Anytime. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Well, thank you so much.
Awesome. Have a good one.
You too.